I first met Allyson, I knew she was a powerhouse. She embodies the phrase multi-passionate creative. She writes, performs, and produces. She is deeply committed to telling stories that highlight and uplift women's voices. And her novel, Ballad of Dreams, is an Amazon #1 bestseller. She's hot off her concert of Ballad of Dreams, now a musical. And when she's not working on theater projects, she is founder and president of AH Coaching Group, which specializes in leadership development and coaching for women executives. I know you will feel of Allyson's infectious energy. Enjoy. Allyson, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. We are so glad you're here. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fabulous. I'm so excited to talk to you this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So you have just come off of this amazing undertaking, like a concert. Wow. But we have to back up and tell our listeners that may not be familiar with Ballad of Dreams. Like it was a pandemic project, which was your history that you turned into a book and then a musical. And you were both like the producer and the playwright and the star. Can we break that down?
Yeah. And as one of our friends said recently to me, basically I'm insane. So for taking on all of those different hats. And yet it's funny, I was watching this amazing video this morning of Jason Alexander on Instagram, and he was talking about how gone are the days of actors just being actors, and that so many actors could just be sitting home waiting for someone to pick them and to cast them and to give them work. And that the best way for actors to be fulfilled and to work is really to create their own work, to, put a company together, to find a writer, to produce it, to put it on stage, to cast themselves. And then you attract other people and other creative collaborators that can either take that project to the next level or get you different types of work, that you didn't create. And so a friend sent that to me this morning, and I said, how perfect. Yes, that is exactly the process that I went to and the realization that I went to. I am a trained actor. I went to school at Syracuse University for musical theater, and took a major hiatus after pounding the pavement for about 10 plus years. And I put all that on hold to be a mom. And after being a mom, my oldest are 14 and 11, I really started to miss desperately the theater, especially when I turned 40 and had this kind of quasi-creative midlife crisis and was like, what am I doing with my life? I'm working in corporate America, and that was never the plan. And I really, really missed being in theater, being around theater people, being creative and performing. And that realization really led me to, this creative explosion is basically what I would call it at 40. And I just started writing. I watched this Lin-Manuel Miranda documentary where he was talking about his process and his writing process and not seeing people like him in musical theater on stage. And that kind of, the light bulb went off for me. I said, okay, well, if Lin could just write a full musical and create an amazing role for himself, why can't I do that? And maybe I have insane hubris that I thought I could compare myself to Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I was like, well, screw it, let's just try it, And that's really how it started. And then my grandmother had just passed away, my maternal grandmother, who was 96, lived a huge life, and was a mother of 13. So my mother is number 6 from the top. And so all these ideas are swirling in my head of losing my grandmother, turning 40, watching Lin-Manuel Miranda's writing journey. And I said, okay, well, if I'm going to create a character that's like my coming out, my coming back to New York and to the theater, then I'm going to write about Grandma, because she was this intensely complicated, interesting, huge personality that lived a big life, who was also musical. I mean, she was like the heart of our family, the matriarch. She played the piano. She loved music. Everyone in my family was musical in some way, shape, or form because of her. And so that's really how the whole project started. Was I missed theater. I missed being on stage, and I wanted to find a way back. And so I came home from watching that documentary. I was on a plane, and I just started writing, and I just started interviewing aunts and uncles and my mom and asking them about my grandmother's life, and really molding her life with my life, and those big questions of, who are we? Are we more than just mothers? You know, can we have it all? Do I have to sacrifice everything for my dreams? Can I be a mom and have a career? All of those big life questions is kind of what made all of this come out of me. And I just couldn't stop. And I haven't stopped for 4 years going on 5.
Wow. Did you think, Allyson, when you were interviewing, when you had that thought, like, I want to reconnect, did you think, I'm a producer, I'm going to produce this? Like, did you, I know, right? Like,
no,
you didn't even have like the term or the language. Yeah.
I didn't even know what a producer was. I mean, I'm still figuring it out, right? I mean, I am a producer. I have produced an album and a concert, and I have hired actors, and I've hired a musical director and a director and all the staff that I, hadn't had before, because you can't do it by yourself. You can't. Yeah. And I'm thankful for, the collaborators that have come along the way to make it so much better, and it will continue to get better with collaborators.
As an emerging producer, you started to name some of the jobs, the roles that you filled. What are the surprises? I just heard you say that you're grateful for the collaborators that came together. With some hindsight, what are we, like a week or two after the concert? Like, it's still fresh,
Yes.
which is really why I wanted to talk to you. Right? It was still fresh. Like,
Yes.
What are some of your takeaways? Like, you're looking down the road for the next steps. Like, for all the other emerging producers who are listening, like, you just did a big thing. Like, what were the surprises? And like, how do you pivot going to the next step? Because I think that's the hardest part. Right?
Yeah,
like, I did one thing. I climbed the mountain. Oh, wait, there's another mountain, right?
So many more mountains. Yes, so many more mountains. I think the biggest realization for me, 2 days after the concert, not even the day of the concert, was that producing is not for the faint of heart. You and I have talked about that. And there are so many more details that you just can't even anticipate. And I'm a detailed person, and I am a planner, and I come out of 20 years of corporate HR experience where I had to manage details and manage staff. And there just were so many things that I didn't think of that, and expenses. Oh, hello. The number one piece of learning, which I think, right, anyone who's a homeowner or anyone who has had any type of creative project, but especially homeowners, it always takes longer and it costs more. Those are the two, like if you're redoing your bathroom or painting a room or whatever it is, it always takes longer and it costs more. And that, I think, was some of the sticker shock as I kept getting closer to the concert, was like, oh God, I didn't think about the extra $300 to $400 I'm going to spend at Staples because I'm going to copy all of the scripts for the cast. And then after 2 days of rehearsal, we're going to make a bunch of changes, and I'm going to have to go back to Staples, and I'm going to spend another $200 redoing all of those scripts. And so things that were like very towards the end of the producing tail end of the project, those were the surprises. It was like, oh, right, I need a program. I need to design a program. I need, is everybody, who's equity, who's not equity? Like, so many different details and expenses that came at the last minute that I did not anticipate. And also the amount of help that you need, and getting the right help, and having arms and legs that are physically there with you during the rehearsal process and the show. I wished that I got more of that, because I would have friends who are actors, turning to me, looking at me like, why are you so stressed out right now? And I'm like, why am I so stressed out? Like, there's 8 million details that are happening behind the scenes that I've never appreciated so much, to just show up as an actor and do your job. Like, wow. Just show up and do your job, and you don't have to worry about, like, oh, somebody paid for this theater. Somebody paid the tech guy. Somebody made sure that the heat was on. Somebody, ensured that we have a piano and a put-in
Scripts.
that we have an amp for the bass player. I realized that about 2 days before rehearsal too. It was like, oh shoot, wait. What do I need for the band?
Wow.
So yeah, there were just so many details that were just coming at me in those last few days that, 6 months ago, I didn't even think that I needed to be thinking about or planning for.
Kudos for you for just jumping in, Allyson, and doing it, knowing that, one, the next time we do it, it's going to be better, and two, I can make it work no matter what I don't know, right? Like, that's the entrepreneur spirit that I sense in you. Like, we're just going to get it done. I'm going to check off all these details, and then I will figure out the rest. I think, that stops a lot of people. Like, I don't know what I need, or getting overwhelmed at some of the process and calling a timeout or something. So kudos for just going and making it happen, and then being able to look back and be like, look at this list of what I've learned. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And I love how you started with Jason Alexander, like this idea of creating your own work. And can you talk to us about going, like, you and I had conversations when you're like, I have my producer hat on, and now I've got to step in and prepare for the actor. Like, can you talk about juggling those roles? Because I think a lot of emerging producers are doing that. They're writing their own music. They're trying to get themselves produced. I love that you started with that. How did you balance those roles?
It was really hard. I am not going to lie. It was really hard. I mentally tried to put on my calendar and literally block on my calendar chunks of time where I was just preparing for the show as an actor. And I knew that I needed, quiet chunks of time. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an executive coach. I work from home, and I needed time when my family wasn't home, when my husband wasn't home, when my kids weren't home, to just run the show, and would literally be running the show in my office and going to the piano and playing my tracks and, have my music stand up and just running it. And I knew that I needed that time where I was turning all of the other details off, and all of the, how many tickets did we sell today? And, all of those other details off, and just focus on the performance. I wished, looking back, that I had more of that time. And yet also it was funny, people were, asking me questions the night of. And I said, once I walked on stage at 7:00, I was golden, because I wasn't worrying about anything else anymore. I could just focus on the performance. And in a way, all of the producer hat things actually distracted me so much that I couldn't even be nervous. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't focused on how did I sound, or did I hit the wrong note, or did I say the wrong words, which I totally did. I'm horrible with words, even when I wrote them. But I wasn't focused on that, because I had so much other distractions leading up, that when I got to the performance moment, I could just be present and just enjoy the moment and be there on stage with these amazingly talented humans that I love, and tell a story that was really personal and fun.
You did such a great job. I have to tell, if anyone, whoever is listening, like, I saw it on the virtual ticket. So I know how hard it is to not be in the space, and for me to be blown away, like, watching it virtually, like, wow. And you talk about the talent that you assembled, like, those, I watched you having fun with the harmonies and singing together. It was like you dropped into the zone. Can you talk about how you leveraged what you already had, which were these connections with people that you had gone to school when you studied? Like, how did that help? That, I mean, we're doing a lot of things unknown, but you were able to drop in and use what skills you had, which I think is so key.
Absolutely. And I think for anyone in any business, but especially show business, it's all relationships. Everything is relationships. And that relationship equity is, it runs deep. And, you know, especially with these friends of mine from college. So several cast members, Rob Sapp, who's in The Lion King, John Jeffrey Martin, who was in original cast of Kinky Boots for like 8 years, Amanda Ferguson, who was just in Anne of Green Gables at the Goodspeed. The three of them were all in my graduating class or a year or two above me. And so to have known them as 18-year-olds, you know, going to college as children, really, we were children, with these big dreams and learning everything that we learned about being actors and storytellers, and to get to do it, to do like a musical that I wrote with these friends that I've known since we were these awkward 18-year-old theater geeks, you know, it was just so full circle. And every stage of the project, my friends and extended friends, so whether from Syracuse or the rest of the cast, were actors that I met in musical theater class in New York. So they were in the thick of it with me when I was returning to theater in my 40s, and I'd walk into acting musical theater class and, you know, I could be their mom. Like I was like the oldest person in the class. And I was like, wait, how old are you? You're a sophomore in college? Like you could be my daughter. But so everyone that I have assembled are people that I've built long-term relationships with and that have just been so incredibly supportive of me, of the project, of wanting to be there and collaborate and make it better. You know, that's the fun part of theater, is when you get a bunch of really smart, talented people in a room and everyone's collective ideas and suggestions just make the art so much better. And they're insanely talented, right? So getting to watch them, you know, we were in the recording studio over the summer. We recorded at Virtue and Vice Studios in Brooklyn. And that was like the first, like, oh, we were rehearsing and we were recording together. And we just had so much freaking fun. And seeing, you know, seeing what was happening, like the magic that was happening in the recording studio, I said, this is awesome, but nobody's seeing this except us. You know, like no one is experiencing this magic, and people need to see it live, because this what's happening right now needs to be experienced live. And that's when I just knew. I was like, okay, we got to get it on stage, and we got to get it on stage this year, because I'm crazy and because it just needs to be on stage. So let's do it.
In December, no less, right?
I know.
Right?
I did not want it to be in December. I wanted it to be in like October or November. But that was another challenge, was finding a space and finding a theater that could accommodate, you know, a cast of 11 schedules and Rob, who was in Lion King, you know, so he could only do a Monday night. So that makes the schedule very limited in terms of, you know, what venues were available on a Monday.
All the different factors. Allyson, none of us can produce without like financial support. And I want to get your thoughts on how you creatively sought support to help get your book published. Can we talk about that?
Yes,
like, how did you send out that word? You raised a not insignificant amount of money. So what made you think this is what I need, or this is how I'm going to do it? I think those skills are very much like what I think will be your next step, which is getting the investors, right? But once somebody gives you $10, $15, $25, they're more willing to give you more money, right? Or the effort in that raise.
Fingers and toes crossed, Megan Ann.
Yes,
right? Please.
Right?
Yes.
Well, and if not, that exercise of the raise, whatever it is, strengthens that muscle to raise again. So when did you know you needed money, and how did you go about getting it?
A year and a half ago, I quit my corporate job, and about, not joking, 2 weeks later, I was introduced to a writing program that would help you not only write a book, but publish a book. And I had gotten feedback from several people in the theater industry that my script at the time read like a novel. And had I thought about pivoting and turning it into a novel, because it was during the world of COVID and there was no theater happening and Broadway was dark. I mean, all theater was dark, but Broadway was dark. And so it was really hard feedback to hear, but once I heard it the third time and I opened myself up to what were the possibilities, I said, okay, let's do this. Let's turn it into a book. You know, this will be fun. I have no idea how to do it, but I'm an avid reader and let's try it. And so I found this program like 2 weeks later called Book Creators. And then the publisher that they work with is called New Degree Press. And so they partnered me with editors, copy editors, proofreaders, an art director, you know, that designed the book cover. And they really were so instrumental in helping me pivot and learn a new writing style and the difference of playwriting and writing a musical to prose. I mean, drastically different, you know, and it was a huge learning curve for me, absolutely learning curve. But part of that process with this program was doing an Indiegogo campaign. And so after you write the book and after you go through all the millions of editing processes to get it in a really great place, then you do a fundraising campaign, and the platform we used was Indiegogo. And I needed to raise about $6,000 to publish the book, just like the paperback, $8,000 to do an audiobook. And because I'm crazy, and because what I really wanted was to make the album of music. So I made my goal to be $20,000 so that I could not only fund the book and the audiobook, that I could also fund a major chunk of making an album, because that's where this whole project started from, was the music. And the book was kind of like this detour it was just a detour in the path, and a really fun detour, and I loved every minute of it. So through that process, I did an Indiegogo campaign for about 60 days, and It was lots of learning. It was very hard. I posted on all my socials, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, every day for 30 days. So I did have an intern at the time who was helping pre-prep 30 days of content. And then I had spreadsheets, which I hate spreadsheets, but I had spreadsheets of so many different relationships and contacts in my life. And I tried to organize those relationships into super fans and, close family and friends, and then acquaintances, and that I kept going. I had several different categories of contacts, and I would reach out to everyone on that spreadsheet over those 30 to 60 days. And at first I didn't need to do that. Donations and bids were just coming in, which was amazing, really quickly. And then I would follow up with people. So I would send emails, I would send, Instagram DMs, I would send DMs on LinkedIn, I would send DMs on Facebook, I would send text messages. And a lot of times people were just like, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to do it. Thanks for the reminder, and they weren't annoyed. They weren't like, why are you asking me for this? And what I found was that people were just so excited for me and so inspired to see what I was doing. Not many people in your life, that are writing a book or raising money like that, and also writing a musical, and also, want to record an album. So people were just really excited for me. And, but it was still really hard. I'm not going to lie. It was really hard. It was really hard to ask people for money, and had to really shift that mindset that I'm not asking them for money. I'm providing them with my book, and there were different packages, that you can create on Indiegogo. So some were you get a book club night with me and 10 books, or you get, a 30-minute coaching session with me in a book. I made these cute, actually I have it right here. I made these cute journals that say, what make your heart sing? And, that was a gifty that would go with the book. But what I found the most surprising and interesting was that my relationships from my corporate career were the ones that were, other than family, were the ones that were the most generous. And I think the most excited, to see me in a very different light and living a very different life than the life I was living when I worked with them in corporate HR.
Oh, that's so interesting. I hearing you describe how you organize your leads. And then I just finished a raise myself, and it's this evaluation stage of like, who gave? And it's like you said, it's the people that I know well. Some surprised me, right? Who gave what amount was also very interesting, right?
Yeah.
And then like what the average give was is also helpful information, right? Yeah, it's a huge part of it. Okay, so now thinking through this next step where you want to take Ballad of Dreams next, how do you start thinking about investors given what you've just learned with this Indiegogo campaign?
Yeah, that's what's next. That is what's next. And I have to wrap my head around that. And I know that I need some more education myself. Being a part of Ken Davenport's Next Stage program is one of the reasons why I'm in there, obviously, is to learn more about the producing hat. And I know I need to learn more about investing and what all of the details of what that means, and how to set myself up, in a structure that works. Like I have one of my best friends is also a screenwriter and producer and director, actor, mom, and she used WeFunder for her screenplay. And so I want to look into that because she had a great success with that, where you can still have the accredited, so like an accredited investor,
yeah.
But you can also have lower amounts of investors. So an investor could, spend $250, and then you could have another investor spend $20,000. So I want to look into that because she had great success in raising money for her film. So that's on my list. But yeah, the relationships, for sure. The relationships, and going back to the people that supported the book, that supported the album, that have been fans, that have seen the process. And I know that, the people that have been on the journey with me, they want to see it on stage again. They want to see the full musical. The concert was just a snack, it was like, here's a snack size version. This is not the full show. This isn't even all the music, there's so much more music, but this is what we recorded. So yeah, I think that's how I'm going to start, but I have a lot to wrap my head around. But that's what 2023 for sure is going to be about for me, is raising the money and then getting to develop the full musical, do a tier 2 workshop, do some sort of workshop, and invite more investors and producers to come.
It's taking those steps one at a time in the general direction, moving that way. Again, that entrepreneur spirit. I may not have all the details, but I know I'm going to figure it out. I'm just going to keep moving. And the two things, Allyson, that there's so much that I really appreciate about you and admire about you. Two things in your journey so far: your passion for the work of the theater, also this specific work. I see that when we talk about it. And secondly, the professionalism in your materials. You spent a lot of time on the PR part, getting your book out there, and then doing all of the behind the scenes of making it available. And we're about to let you shout out where people can find Ballad of Dreams. But you've done a lot of work. So the combination of your passion and this professional presentation, I have no doubt that you're going to achieve all that you need and want to do in the next steps. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that.
Of course. So give us a vision of where you want to be, and then we'll let you have the final word of shouting out where they can find you now. So where do you see Ballad of Dreams at the end of the year, 3 years, 5 years? Like what's the dream?
Yeah, the next dream after developing it, really developing it, and I know I have a lot of rewriting and editing to do, which I'm actually really excited to do, and get back to putting all the puzzle pieces together of the musical and adapting the musical from the book, which was adapted from a musical. It's very full circle, right? It was started here and now it's this and now it's this. So other than writing, rewriting, editing, developing it, developing the full script and getting time to be in a rehearsal room and work on all the music and all of the story, it's to get it on stage and have a fully produced musical. And what I'm targeting ideally for 2024, 2025 would be a regional theater in New Jersey. I am a Jersey girl. It is a Jersey girl story. It takes place in many places in New Jersey: Nutley, New Jersey, Long Branch, the beach, New York City. And I think audiences in New Jersey would really appreciate this story. And and I live here, and I'm a mom still, and my kids are in school, so I can't go do the show in Ohio.
Sure.
I need to be close to home. So New Jersey or New York City, obviously, the ultimate goal, of course, is to get Ballad of Dreams to New York, but that might not be where it's meant to end up, and so I'm okay with that. I just want to see it on stage and really get to share it with audiences in a highly professional production, in the way that it's intended to be experienced.
Wow. And tell us, Allyson, you get the last word. Where can people find you? Where in the many places can they find Ballad of Dreams?
Yes, absolutely. So balladofdreams.com is our website. You can also find me at AllysonHernandez.net. You can find the music, which is right behind me. That's the album cover, on Spotify. You can also find it on Apple Music, YouTube, and Amazon Music. That's the music. You can get the book, which is behind me, also on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. Indigo, if you're in Jersey, it's in the Short Hills Mall, and the Drama Bookshop if you are in New York City. So that's where you can get the book, the music, my socials. So Ballad of Dreams, the musical, on Instagram, and Allyson Hernandez _extra. I can't even say that. It's so many letters, but Allyson Hernandez _extra on Instagram. And Facebook, Allyson Hernandez on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. So you can find us. Google Ballad of Dreams and you'll find us.
Good for you. Way to be everywhere. Thank you for taking some time to talk us through your journey. I know it will be inspiring for other emerging producers and first-time investors that are passionate about a story and want to help, want to know what those steps are. You are doing it. And it's a huge inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You are doing it too. So I am inspired by you as you are working on multiple shows, not just one show, multiple shows, which is amazing to watch from over here as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.